Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And what we're going to do in this video is just create a velocity banking spreadsheet from scratch. And it's really, really easy. You could just follow these steps and create your own. And the more that you do things on your own, you won't have to rely on people like me to send you spreadsheets, right? Just create it on your own and you'll be a master in no time. So now I have this other spreadsheet as a reference as to what it should look like. But let's go ahead and create one from scratch. And there's only really two things you need in order to start doing velocity banking. Number one is the budget, and then number two is the line of credit, and that will be your main operating account. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this and write this down somewhere, move it. And really, there's only going to be two columns that we need. We call this the average American, and then the second column is the velocity banking, or whatever you want to call it, VB, or I'll call it, put it velocity banking right here, right? And let's go ahead and highlight these, okay? And we're gonna bold that, highlight it, and now what we got to do is just do a basic budget, right? So what's the first thing we need when doing our budget? What's our income, our expenses, right? And what's our savings left over. Okay, so the only difference between the average American and column C, velocity banking, is conceptually that we're paying things out of our paycheck on column B, and then we're using our line of credit as our main tool in column C, right? So let's just assume that we have a $5,000 income. So let's go ahead and write that. And let me go ahead and format all of this so that it looks a little bit better. So you could just do right click right here, type in number format, and then just use currency or accounting. It doesn't really matter which, and select the right symbol as well. So let's look for United States, English, United States, dollar sign, okay. All right. And our expenses, we'll just say $3,000. Savings, if you're a really disciplined person and you don't have that much debt, you might have $2,000 of savings a month, which is really incredibly good, right? And then what you want to do after that is an expense breakdown. So let's go ahead and write down here what our expense breakdown is. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, okay? And what we want to make sure is that whatever's under here equals at $3,000. Or another way we can do is just make it a formula. So what's important is in our expense breakdown, we have to write down every single debt that we have, because the goal of velocity banking is just simply a debt pay down, right? And so every debt should be its own line item. So we'll just have loan one and loan two, right? And then we might have a credit card, but let's make it easy for today. And we'll say rent, and then other general expenses like food, gas, insurance, etc. Right? Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll make this the first one. We'll make it the student loan. Second one, we'll make it the auto loan, an auto loan. Okay. And then we'll just say that this has, I don't know, 13, 10K in balance, and we'll say something like 6%. And same thing right here. So we'll put 13K, and then we'll put 6% as the interest rate, right? And obviously you want to verify everything. So I'm just making this up right now. But we'll say that the auto loan has a I'm sorry, not 6,000, $600 payment, and the student loan has a $400 payment, and then the rent is $1,000, and then all the other good stuff like food, insurance, gas is $1,000. Again, this is just a hypothetical scenario, and you'll notice that when this is summed up, it equals to 3,000. Also, you can use a formula to kind of sum this up as well. So you just click delete, and then equals a sum from B7 colon B10, which is the last item, and you could see it all highlighted there. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing with velocity banking. So two things that we're going to make sure is that we have the same income and no savings. Because why is there no savings? But because we're going to put our entire paycheck into the line of credit and take our expenses out of it, right? And so since all our money is in the line of credit, there's nothing that's really going to be in our checking or savings, okay? And so what we're going to do is we need a line of credit So why don't we get a line of credit? It could be a personal home equity, um, even a business if you're doing it for business, line of credit. And so we have to take into account a few things with that line of credit. And so if you don't know what a line of credit is, all it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back over and over again, right? So I'm going to do interest rate, right? So we have the interest rate, we have the credit limit, so how much can you borrow up to, the balance, the current balance, right? So balance, and then whatever the interest that we're actually paying, and then the month that we're on. So these are the categories that we definitely need to know about our line of credit. And let's go ahead and highlight this, right? And we'll say that this is a 15% interest line of credit up to $15,000, right? And actually, let me go ahead and format this correctly. I think if you put the dollar sign in without doing the correct formatting, it screws up. So 15,000, right? Okay, and we always say the first month is really month zero, because when you get to the first month, that's when the interest is generated, and then you're in month one when that first statement with the interest is generated. Okay, so let me go here. Okay, so now we're just going to do essentially the same thing, right? But what we want to do, and I'm simplifying this because there's a little bit more to how this works. But whatever debts that you're paying off, you're essentially going to do a debt transfer. Okay, and let's go ahead and figure out how much cash flow we can recover. And also, we got to write down a little section for our cash flow. And all our cash flow is the C2, right, minus C3. Okay, so $2,000. Now let's do this. Let's say we move this 23 grand. Was it 23 grand? Oh, my bad. Let me fix this. So let's say this is $25,000 line of credit. Okay, and I'm simplifying this, but let's say we moved this 23 grand into this line of credit, right? So all we do is 23,000. Okay, and actually let me do this. Sorry, 23,000. Okay, so 23,000. What happens when we move these two loans into that line of credit? Well, essentially these become paid off, right? We just did a simple debt transfer, and notice how this um, cash flow increased by $1,000, right? And here what we're going to do is we're going to put our entire paycheck into the line of credit, take our expenses out, and then after every month, the balance is going to go down by the cash flow plus the interest, okay? So now what we're going to do, right, is now go ahead and create some formulas so that we can easily calculate when does this pay off, right? And so what we're going to do is in this cell right here, put it equals, okay, and then put the previous month's balance H2 plus the previous month's interest. Now, in month zero, there's not going to be any interest because the interest doesn't get generated until the first statement comes out, right? But let's just, make it easy. Just include it because you can easily copy and paste it and then subtract it by our cash flow, which is 3,000, right? Okay, so now we need to calculate the interest, which is going to happen in month one. So the way that the interest is calculated is through what they call the average daily balance, right? And the way that happens is, or one of the ways we can estimate it is use this average function right here, right? And then put H2 and H3. This is going to give us the midpoint of these two. So it's kind of like an average, but not really, but it's good enough, right? So we multiply it by the interest rate, which is 0.1, or 0.15, I'm sorry, 15% right here. And then we divide it by 12. So why do we divide by 12? That's because the interest is going to be calculated monthly, and the interest rate that they give you is the annual interest rate or the annual percentage rate, APR, right? So that's why we got to divide by 12. They technically do it another way where they actually divide it by the number of days in a month, and it's a little bit more. It's going to be the same result essentially, but they don't technically calculate this. But just use this formula, right? Make it easy on yourself. Okay, so now what do we have to do when we get this, right? We copy it, and then we just keep copying it in the next line until this turns into negative or zero, right? So we can see here at month 9, right? I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. Month 9, that we're at a negative right now, and so therefore our line of credit has been paid off, so we could essentially just say this is zero. And now you can see that it took us pretty much about 9 months. You could say, you could argue 8 or 9 months to pay this 23 grand line of credit off. And let's go ahead and sum up the interest rate here. So there's a sum button right here, and we paid $1,000 of interest to pay off this 23 grand. Now, I don't know about you, but do you know anybody who's been able to pay off 23 grand in 9 months? Because, there's a lot of people who are broke paycheck to paycheck and they have no cash flow even though they're making more than six figures. And how do I know this? Because some of you randomly email me unsolicited saying, please help me. And I take a look at your numbers, and sometimes I see like 6 grand, 7 grand, 10 grand a month, and you're still broke. And probably the reason that you're broke, I can't say for sure because um, it depends on your situation, is that you don't know how to manage your cash flow, right? And one of the easiest way to manage your cash flow is by using your line of credit as your main tool. So as you can see here, I move these two debts into this credit line. I put my entire paycheck in, get the balance to zero. 9 months is paid off. It only cost me $1,000, right? So hopefully this was a very easy tutorial on how to create your own velocity banking spreadsheet. So remember, there's only two things that we need. Number one is a budget, which we certainly did: income, expenses, savings, cash flow. And then you just make sure you do expense breakdown. Just remember, every debt that's paid off or even just transferred to a line of credit is more cash flow. And again, there's a little bit more to this. I just made it super simple. And then what you want to do is just create your formulas for your line of credit, right? So it's your starting balance, and then these are the formulas you need for line two. So this one here is H2 plus I2. So H2 is this one, I2 is this one, minus your cash flow. Your cash flow is right here, it is $3,000. And then your interest is going to be calculated using the average daily balance. So this is going to be here and here, multiplied by 15%, right? Multiply by 15%, and then you divide by 12 to get the monthly interest. And then what you do is also create a formula for the month, make it easier on yourself. So this is going to be the previous month's plus one. And then what you're going to do is just go ahead and copy and paste all of these right here. And then once you see a zero or a negative number, that's when you know that the line of credit is paid off. You go ahead and sum it up. You'll see how much you paid in interest, and you realize, wow, that wasn't that bad, and I didn't really have to think about it, right? And anytime you needed extra money, you could just use your line of credit as almost like a savings account if you wish, right? If you ever need more money, but again, just take it from your line of credit, right? All right, well, that's it. So this is the Velocity Banking Spreadsheet tutorial updated for 2024. The real difference, only real difference between this one and the last one is just the update on the interest. I used to just use the previous month's interest, and I didn't really add it just because I was just really lazy. I'm going to be honest with you. But someone taught me how to do this better, which is why I'm going to reteach you again because I know the concept. And sometimes, I was just thinking nobody's going to watch these videos. And turns out a lot of you are watching, so I got to make it a little bit more accurate for 2024, right? All right, well, that's it for today. So this is Velocity Banking in a nutshell, how to create a spreadsheet. If you're interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google form link below. And, in our group, we not only learn about velocity banking, but we also learn about financial literacy and real estate investing and how to buy properties at a discount because that's the easiest way to create wealth. All right, well, have a great day, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everybody.